Oh, I'm also bringing out. We got the ring light. We're
Oh,
stepping up the production. At least I'm
Aaron
trying
stepping
to.
up in the production, new microphone and a ring light.
We're sharpening that show business.
Sharpening
Slowly but
real
surely.
the real productions when we're all in one room with like an actual table and like swing over
Plants. Oof.
plants and shit.
Yeah, we're just like on the online ghetto. We're like, all right, just whip up a Zoom.
But no, what I was about to say, like right before I had started it, was yeah, dude, I've just been willing and dealing these past couple weekends, meeting a shit ton of new people. Like, I know we were talking about how like we needed more like just down to get after it like type people in our lives,
Mm-hmm.
and that's pretty much what I've just been going after each weekend and finding these new friend group. Like, obviously, you can't replace the friend group that I have now, but like to build that network that I have, I've been able to like acquire new people in my life that are fun to hang out with, super cool, and they also got shit going for them. So that's been a plus these upcoming or these past few, I guess, month or so. It's like, gosh, every weekend I'm here alone in Austin, I feel like.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
our lives are who we surround ourselves with, so we got to keep that sharpness of community and intellectual debate and fun, importantly too.
Yes.
It's that childish play. And I think you're in a good spot, at least in Austin, we are in. Just there's so many people around, so many opportunities. You can just be out, be friendly. And I've had like no issue. Just, hey, what's your Instagram? Let's swap contact information. And then it's just off from there.
I mean, easier said than done, but I mean, you can meet a bunch of new people and they just don't remember you. So like the real trick is like, how do you get them to remember you?
I'd be swiping up on their stories. If I see anything that remotely is cool or whatever, just, and that's free, costs like barely anything
You're
to
thinking
do.
social media wise. I'm talking
Oh,
like
yeah.
when you're face to face, you meet this person for the first time. Like, how are you going to differentiate yourself to be rememberable? That's
You
the
have
hard.
to play off your strengths.
I honestly, I say like you fuck the small talk and then you just go straight into
That real
fucking
stuff.
yeah, just start talking about like retiring in 45 years and the depression, and then
You
just
fuck their ear.
start really
Okay,
going it.
I got a different angle, but
Just smash them, just break the ice.
Put it in their ear hole. Let them hear it.
Yeah, break the hole.
Break the hole. But yeah, I mean that's one positive I would say that's been pretty cool the past couple of months. But these last few weeks, one of the things I've been kind of struggling with is like a work-life balance throughout the weekdays, like the Monday through Friday, where I'm actually going to work. But I used to not have like a big of a time like struggling with this type of thing, but I know many people do. But it's like right when I get off of work, I go straight to the gym if I don't hit it in the morning. But with my hours right now, I just don't have time to hit it in the morning. So it's like right after work, I go to the gym, I come home, I eat, and then by the time I do all that, the day is over. But I feel like I've been missing a super strong like social aspect that I should be having like maybe midweek or so. And so I've been trying to find ways to combat that. And I'm actually trying to figure out like what you guys are doing like throughout the work week to keep you sociable, to keep you sharp on like to keep you alive and not feeling down and bored or what's that word? Like not a sense of depression, but just lazy.
And not only that, we're like in our yuppie age group in our mid upper 20s, where going out, socializing more, meeting more, comedy, whether it's drinks, whether it's playing freaking tennis or whatever it is. We need more of that. At least in Fort Worth, what I've been doing is I've just been keeping it close to home and just hanging out with kind of the like Grayson really, and just kind of growing the tribe, really just like every day, just kind of brotherhood mentality about like, all right, and try to really motivate, because we have to lift the spirits. It's like all this grogginess of whether it's Bugman work life, this corporate grind that sucks our energy and we don't want to do anything after, and keeping everything in between. It's like there's a special like type of social work, and I hate to use the word social work because it's industry, but it's more of like raising the spirits of your community, like by just holding it down and bringing people together. It's like people just, as we get older, we separate apart, but as bleak as the economy looks and recession and like basically our age group will never own anything. We're just fed good. And we're like Russian serfs, but we're just fed good and we just have enough entertainment. We don't give a shit, but it's like we're never going to own anything. Um, those are real things to talk about. And I feel like there's this growing trend of just getting tighter to community and really aligns with this age of Aquarius shift.
Whoa, I don't even know what that.
Yeah, you got to explain on the age.
Wake us up.
So it's apparently it's this like celestial cycle. And for any of you
Astrology host.
yeah, you crystal bitches that listening, you fact check me. But it's about this like celestial cycle that's shifting away from like what arguably was this past millennium, and it was more structure and rigid, like pyramids, and it's going more into this like fluid, analytical type of structure, more circles and concentric.
Is that similar to the Kali Yuga?
No, I've just heard it more. It's like it's just like this grand new age that's supposed to happen. But depending who you ask, if you talk to like a biblical prophecy people, they're like, no, the freaking mark of the beast and the Harlow and all this shit's happening right now. So it's like, it's in a death of an old age cycle and that old age and a birth of a new, or but it does worth people to dig into, and they're fun conversations to have either way.
For sure. Well, to just touch back on what Jeremy was saying with that work-life balance, yeah, like if you're on your grind all the time, which is good, if you're working out after you finish your job, it's something you need. But if you're on that all the time, that's going to affect your production at work and your lifts. So you have to mindfully put time in to maybe not do anything. That in itself can be work. Socializing can be work. Eating right is still work, So it doesn't have to be pushing towards a goal. I think personally, I've noticed in myself doing some reflection. I like to have the goals, and I feel like I'm coming up short when I don't do it. If I'm not every day at least reaching all those goals to its max potential, and it's something that, take a step back, and with that time that you spent downtime, that's should be considered work as well. So
yeah, I think
something I'm working on.
Yeah, I think with me personally is that I've just been murdering myself with all my workouts.
Mm.
I have multiple days out the week where I'm doing 2 days. And I think I've literally just been so on a grind for the health and fitness aspect of my life that I've been kind of slacking on the social aspect. If I think back to the past couple months, I'm only sociable on Saturdays. That's one day out of the week where I'm actually like getting out there and talking to people constantly. And so what I've actually like tried to implement now is like reaching out to my friends, like, hey, once every other week, why don't we do like a beer Thursday or a beer Wednesday, where we just go to a new spot, grab a beer just for like an hour, hour and a half, nothing crazy because it's a weekday, obviously. But it's like I went from playing tennis once a week, playing golf once a week with different groups of people, to not doing any of that at all because I've been so hyper focused on my craft of training and trying to be as healthy as I can. And what I've learned is that kind of takes back your social aspect. So you got to, like you said, that balance of reflecting, being aware of the problem is your first step. That's the biggest step too.
Right.
But then having a solution, obviously the second step. So that's meeting up once a week with a group of friends, then so be it, do that. But it's like, but that you're talking about goal settings too. I found that recently I haven't been going after goals, but I've been kind of setting challenges, which I guess a challenge is a goal at the end, because if you complete it, you've completed that challenge. So I've been basing like different things in my life, writing in my planner. Okay, today I started this. I want to finish this by this X date, 30 days. So what I've been doing is like doing months out, just different types of challenges to help me stay accountable throughout my work weeks and be more disciplined.
How do you guys deal with this like anxiety? And it's not really, for me, it's not as bad as like anxiety. I go crazy, but it's more of like I can feel it like deep in me. It's like you want to do more or you want to go faster, but you also have to be incredibly calculated on like where you apply your focus to achieve the objectives. I'm just curious how y'all think about that.
Yeah, and that's something that's not talked about. I really wish it was. Like, especially I feel like in our generation, you have social media, you can see people that are, a few steps ahead of you. And so you look at yourself, you're like, why am I not there at this point? Um, a lot, there's like anxiety and I think anger as well, especially in men of our age. I think you should be aware of it, work on things to get that level down. But I personally use that as fuel when it comes like time to the crunch time when I'm training. That's you can dig into that and use that as instead of letting it eat yourself up, spending those nights, messing with your sleep, you can instead use that, not rage in a sense. Sometimes it is, but use that as an energy personally.
Yeah, to rebuttal off that, we also have to keep in mind that we're all going through the same day. We all have the same amount of time in the day. And the only thing that really truly matters is that present moment that you're actually in at that present actual time of the day. Now, within that time of the day, if you choose to just sit there, that's on you. If you choose to work towards something, that's on you also. But I also like to try to find some time in the morning when I wake up or midday where I have some alone time just to reflect and prioritize different scheduling events in my head. Okay, this needs to be done first, then this, then this. Okay, at this time I have this to do. So I'm always thinking future tense, but I'm only I'm only worried about the present moment really, but I'm always thinking in the future as well, just keeping track of what I have to do. And that helps me stay sane when it comes to like doing that present work and working towards something. So I would always my advice would be just be aware of your present moment and what you're working towards for your future self.
So I feel like a lot of people, at least men, this is more of a man question. So ladies, you listening?
Sorry.
Can speak into you can hear into the minds of men. But at least like and I've noticed this being back home and even just you can observe it amongst friend groups, but there's always this like status factor or like the respect factor just based on either like past accolades, specific notoriety or just whatever capability or like status or rank. Um it's become more apparent to me. It's like usually when drinking and going out and social behaviors, it's like all those get exhibited and manifested further. And I guess the question's more of like, how would you advise someone who they say they're like, oh, I'm going to do all this and have business and money and get a job and get out of all this shit, whatever they're in. And they say it, but they can't realize the needs and the sacrifices they have to do to actually do that, and can't change the behaviors that keep them in a repressed state to begin with. Like, does that make sense?
Oh, it does. So the question is how to get someone to be aware of that, because I think that's
Or
what holds most people back.
how do you coach someone
Oh, yeah.
to like plow through that kind of like discipline of and fire building, you know?
So sometimes some people are like not coachable at all, and it really does take like a drastic event to light that fire under their ass so they can get up after it. But then some people they just really need that that mentor in their life. So, some people like us three right here, we're all very teachable. You can put somebody who's smarter than us in front of us and we can learn from them. Other people don't work that way. But like for us, if we had like a extremely good mentor in our life that we could just go after, ask questions, ask how to do certain business like ventures, that would benefit us crazy more than like a drastic event would. I'm not saying like a drastic event wouldn't benefit us because we could always learn from that. But those people who aren't coachable at all, it really does take something crazy to happen for them just to get that fire like lit up under their ass.
I don't know if y'all have this same thought, but like along those same lines is you can kind of see the writings on the wall for certain people on their like trajectory, lifestyle, behaviors, mindset, what they like to talk about, whatever it is. And it's like also as an adult, you kind of see who's going to be alcoholics as you kind of get older. It's like, whoa. But yeah, I get it's like kind of this like you want to influence change for the better, but you also have to be passive and like they have to flow their own, self-actualization as well. But I'm curious how you like nurture that more strongly and build it and like to like inspire and build that versus like kind of have this nihilism that like, yeah, you're fucked.
I guess it really depends on the person as well. Like some people need that hard, tough love, sitting down and being like, hey, if you continue down this path and the habits that you have, your actions daily compounded will just lead to you being mediocre. And some people, they need that. Like, oh, you're right. Versus someone, if you maybe more like a softer approach or just guiding like the coaching, like Jeremy says. So it really is dependent on the person. But they need to wake up to themselves to have that understanding of what I do every day, the things that I'm setting, the goals I'm setting for myself, and my commitment to those sacrifices and hours put in is ultimately going to give me what I want. That is only something that you have to realize yourself before the light bulb goes off. Like, oh, okay, I need to do this. Here's where I want to be.
And another thing you could do is, be that example that
Right.
you want them to try to strive for. So there's lots of time, like there's lots of like self-help people out there who say do this, do that, but them themselves aren't even doing that. So it's like set that example for that one person and see if they follow. Obviously you can provide them tips and tricks, see if they take it, it's their choice or not. But at the end of the day, you can only help somebody who actually wants to be helped. That's just the unfortunate story. But I'm not saying don't not try to help somebody who doesn't want to be helped, because maybe there is that one breakthrough moment that you could potentially have. So always try to continue to help, but at some point, use your guidance to figure out, okay, how far do I need to actually push myself to help or assist this person?
Yeah, and we all have our limits and barriers. I guess the audience listening and even just us individually, it's like our communities have barriers we have to break to. Our individual selves, we have specific attributes we can't break through. And a part of it's like just maturing and knowing your limit, especially with drinking. That's what my dad always told me when I was like just being a drunk bastard in like high school and college. But yeah, he's like, learn your limits. It's like just never have any. But yeah, I guess it's like kind of that it's like that logical development, especially in the age we're in, about how, okay, our careers we're setting the groundwork for our 30s, which either turns quick into family building or turns off into like an even bigger rocket ship on the career, money world, business world, or whatever track you're on. But I think there's like some mutual societal focus, especially as a man, to that you have to sort of achieve great things, and everyone has that hero story archetype programmed into them from Disney and all the social media and everything. So I'm just like, I'm wondering if there's like, we know the curriculum for education is shit and there's nothing clear defined, but I wonder how you like trim the fat and you're really like, all right. And from more of like a trade and skill craft, like a trade craft kind of point of view, it's like, all right, just learn these fucking things and you're going to figure this shit out.
Well, we're trying to trim the fat. It literally starts with the kiddos. I mean, how we're raising our kids, how we're teaching them,
what are you feeding them?
Yeah, what we're feeding them.
Yeah.
It's literally the whole 9 yards, and it begins with the kiddos. I mean, I'm sure you guys can all remember when you're in elementary school, your teacher's like, you're the next generation up. Like, it's you. It's like your generation. This is what we're working for, your generation. So it really is like we're that example, and we really can't control how we raise our kids by teaching them what we want to teach them. But if we're putting them through the normal everyday system as like a normal human being that lives in the United States, then it's probably going to be kind of corrupt. They're not going to learn everything that they need to learn. But it really does. It starts with the kiddos. That's how we change it.
But these go into spicy subjects, right? And especially like the common adult and their political way of thinking frames it, because you got the conservatives who it's like, no, let's conserve how we did in the past and it works. Yet they're, adversarial to, innovation or change, arguably, or improvement or different new systems. And then you have like progressive and liberal, which is like, you know, kind of talking about social gender identities when you're like 5, you know, so it's like, uh,
Yeah, you're
you
fine.
know, it's not like it's easy one or the other, but that's what people are dealt with. And usually people are just going to have some easy binary thinking, just like, nope, I'm going to go, you know, it's like more red pill, blue pill versus like, okay,
There's a middle. I
there's a,
think the
yeah,
middle option, you
yeah,
have to
there's
take
like a
both.
white, purple pill or something, you know, it's like,
The unfortunate thing about all that is like that those kids who are being taught that at 5, they literally don't have that choice. They're not given the choice of learning something else. That's just what they're being taught. That's what they're being spoon fed.
So then it goes before the kids are even part of the picture. Then, if you want to raise a family that is and kids that are educated, well rounded, and setting up for the next generation for your generational wealth, you need to have your, I guess, resources in line so that they aren't in that situation where your kids are being taught something you may not agree with fully.
That, and you got to expose them. You got to expose them to what life actually is. I mean, whether that be like going out, showing them crazy things, or teaching them finance at a very, very young age and how to run their own books so that
And
they
kids are wicked smart. I don't know if you've worked with kids around that age. They're like a sponge, always
they're
wanting to know what you're doing, pick up on things super fast. I forget the age cutoff exactly, but as a kid's around that, I think around like 8, that's when they're most you can pick up more languages.
Mhm.
I think it's like 8 or 10. So
Learning a
young,
language is easier when you're young.
pump them full of knowledge and experiences as early as you can.
but even like, you know, especially with men and boys, is like we, as we grow up and we learn how to interact and socialize with women, you got, you know, your Asperger's, autism nerds that have terrible social skills. And then you might have your other cohort that were social street smarts and they knew how to, you know, gain friends and popularity and what, who have you. But um, at least for me, then I'm speaking from a masculine point of view. So if any feminine audience members, I'm sorry, but it's like men will like there's like a anima in our subconscious ego that we project our feminine in the way we talk to women.
Can
And
you
it's
expand on that a little more?
like we haven't it, as a part of our inner manhood and just our inner masculine is
Hmm.
like there's also like a feminine duality to us that aligns more with like the intuitive, emotional, you know, in those kind of senses.
Yeah.
Um,
So, like you're talking about, like the goal chasing in a man for that status is the masculine energy, but yet he still has the feminine energy of the emotions and empathetic kind of habits.
and but more of this like meta consciousness that we like how we're programmed through how our interactions with our mother, our sister,
Hmm.
girlfriends, or whatever, our aunts, and anything, you know, and how we learn to talk and interact with opposite gender. It's like it's our own inner like feminine programming. This is to like how to communicate them or be friends and, you know, all that type of
I
stuff.
think that has a lot to do with, I mean, we come out of females. But we are most men that I know are they were extremely close to their moms if they're not still close to their moms. There's just something about a mother's touch, a mother's voice that provides that wholesomeness, and also I'm pretty sure like guys produce a slim amount of estrogen. If, I mean, you can fact check
Oh,
me.
it's a naturally occurring
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
chemical.
we produce like a small amount of it that gives us that like that more gentle, caring aspect of that being kind and loving to
Yeah,
others.
and that's by design. I think that's a good imprint to have on you. But I think a lot of dudes, and their problem is that they look for a woman once they get older that mimics what their mom did for them. And if you treat your significant other and you want her to be like your mom, how are you supposed to be the strong masculine figure in a family if your girl is acting like your mom, taking care of you, making you all this food? Like, it's okay, but it's like, and I prescribe more to the traditional masculine roles. So again, to our more, female listeners, that's just like my perspective on it. But I think that's where a lot of dudes mess up, looking for a mommy too.
but it's like that. It's like that. It's like there's like this like maternal aspect that like is just we know our families need it, right? Like we
Yeah,
need it.
you need a good mom for your kids, but you can't find mama for you.
The only way you find a good mom for your kids is you find a woman that's good for you, that both y'all are literally assisting each other throughout
So
life.
like in Jewish culture, or I guess religion or spirituality, whatever, ethnicity. It's an ethnic group too.
Mhm.
On so many kinds. But they like you are a Jew if you through your mother. Like it's through your mother being if
That
being
line.
Jewish is how you're classified as Jewish. And the reason the logic was because the mothers would preserve like the social and cultural aspects of the household and like the children. Um and additionally, like there are schools of thought that we gain our intelligence from our mothers. So
Oh,
there's
there's scientific evidence. It's like the fat that goes into the milk helps the baby's brain grow. So that's 100% scientific fact. So check your
yeah.
girl's little fat content before you start making babies.
Yeah, so it's freaking
Well, isn't
dude.
it something like breast milk versus like formula milk?
Oh yeah, the natural all the way. Avoid giving your babies that baby formula. Like
No wonder I'm
the
sick.
amount of chemicals in there, and it's just not. God didn't make it that way.
Yeah, the formula can be preserved for
Hmm.
months. Real milk just expires in a couple days.
Yeah, and I know there's if anybody out there, hopefully not, that's struggling to find natural breast milk for their kids. They do have natural breast milk banks. I actually recently learned that.
Mm,
So
sounds like a good business.
support them.
But this goes into those like genetic conversations and like what we inherit through our genes and our like physical DNA code. Um, and there's like these weird stories and cases where it's like, have you heard of people like they get transplanted with pig hearts and then they stop eating bacon?
What?
Or
I
it's
heard about that.
or like there's a story of a guy that he got some guy's liver that like died off a bike, and he used to love or he didn't ever like chicken or something, and then the guy whose heart that died like had chicken and nuggets in his pocket or some shit, and then the guy started liking chicken, like just started eating chicken like crazy or something. So there's this weird like non-locality and some code to our programming about like what we like and what we our behaviors and our nature that isn't purely just like physical genetics blood, you know. And like obviously that's a big part of it, but it's weird how there's like these kind of like
There's
transmutation.
you,
Yeah,
and then
there's
there's then the body you, and we can go even more meta into that. I see
yeah.
myself as like the spiritual drive of what I want, and then there's the body of Aaron that may crave like fast food. I was wanting Pete Terry's yesterday that I still kind of want some, but be strong because I myself, the one who's piloting the ship, it's like, okay, that's going to take me off the goal. So yeah, you have to be aware of those, be it genetic or things that have been passed down from learned behaviors that are you in a sense, but I guess more of the physical you and not the ephemeral you, the spiritual you.
But that's like the ego, right? The ego is like our human project, it's like our projection of who we are, right? And that
We can spend hours on that.
it kind of it unravels this like shadow of yourself that some people choose to acknowledge and integrate into like themselves to gain larger awareness and conscious and capabilities, and others that just don't refuse to look at it.
Sometimes I feel like my mind goes in its own control mode to where I'm thinking like, okay, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this, but I have absolutely no control and I still do it. So like for example, Sunday we got large pizzas and ice cream. And I told myself, I was like, only a little bit of pizza. But something in my mind was like, no, 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 you're eating this full large pizza one sitting, and then you're gonna have some ice cream. And that's exactly what I did.
It's like the devil and the angel like on your shoulder, you know. It's like
No, literally, but it was like, oh my God, I ate so much pizza that night and ice cream. Next day I woke up and I was like, all right, something, yeah, whole lifestyle changes complete like week.
And you can like feel that shit in the morning too.
Oh, bro. I text because Aaron brought pizza over too that night, and I ate the rest of his pizza.
Yeah, I left half of it. I couldn't do it.
He left half his pizza, and I ate the rest of it the same night. And
Just
like,
goblin.
dude, I tell people I can eat, and a lot of people are like, nah, you can't do that. I'm like, no, I can.
This
Like,
man put down 2 pizzas in 24 hours.
no, but less than it was like 2 hours, 3 hours maybe.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it's like your buddy did the challenge at Waffle House where he ate what 12 waffles in like the span of like 24 hours.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
So his thing was he lost a football fantasy league, and so he had to spend 24 hours in a Waffle House. Each waffle ate, you would take off an hour from that time. So he had like 12 in the span of like
I had
like 12 or 14 hours.
But what
I
saying
had a
is-
friend that did that.
yeah, but what I was saying is I can put down 12 waffles like in an hour because
Where
I
does it
was over
go?
one time and I had 4 waffles with ease. Like it'd be disgusting and I'm probably not gonna like it and it'd be painful, but I can do it.
It's like that point where like the carbohydrate buttery stuff, like it's good, and then it just turns into like
Just clogs your veins.
it's like you're just like building type 2 diabetes like immediately.
You get diabetes right away that same day. God damn. Oh fuck.
So I think wanted to swap over at least a little market update. I think the Fed is meeting next
Earnings
week.
season.
I think they're dropping the full 100 basis points. Just a hot take. Just
Yeah, they've
full
it's,
percent.
it's either gonna be 75 basis points, so 0.75% or 1. But like there's a lot of people like if you're going month to month doing that, why don't they just do one huge one at once?
Yeah.
Because they need it, just freaking like cause faster pain sooner. It's like maybe like a better way about going about drug addiction too. It's like, hey, just fucking
Cold turkey that.
yeah, or at least just, like get rehab fast, get on the road to recovery faster than slower. But it boils down at least to the consumer level about who's going to buy households. Like we already know, single family residential getting out of view for everybody. And yeah, I mean, we're talking about in the chat. It's slowly starting to get bullish, which is ironic. Like crypto's been up briefly, and I think the Nasdaq was up briefly. Owning a house, impossible. And then but there's an uptick in distressed debt. So Americans like distressed debt is going up, and like the latest time it kind of skyrocketed, it was right when that like fast recession happened at COVID.
What's distressed debt?
So it's like the percent of delinquency. So it's like debt that gets downgraded because it's more shit because the debtor it's worth less. So it's like they'll buy debt like on pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
That it was originally issued at.
Yeah, all y'all who have credit card debt, your debt's being bundled up and then sold.
Like
making money off of you.
Like those Oscar Mayer fucking wieners and just on Wall Street, just
bundled up and flipped.
Yeah.
I wish I could bundle up and flip my debt.
Yeah, Tesla sold 75% of its Bitcoin.
Sheesh.
About 936 million worth. So all you Bitcoiners like us, yeah, eats ass, but it doesn't change the fundamental idea of how you fight global international banking, and especially like how these central banks and global financial institutions exert influence and force through capital.
Just means more Bitcoin to buy on the market.
But yeah, and then inflation was 9.1%, so the worst one yet, and just just total incompetence, at least like in how our politics is telling us why it's happening, and seems no logical way to get it back into control other than slowing the economy more and making money harder for all of us that need to work and make income and pay taxes and build business and pay our bills. So
Yeah, I'm curious if companies are gonna. I know some, like a lot of companies, were definitely giving pay raises out to some of their employees due to inflation. So I wonder if they're gonna do like another round of that, or if companies, what it seems to be the trend is laying people off, or if the layoff trend is just gonna increase.
That's the other side of the coin. You raise wages for some, and then you have to cut some people to make
Yeah.
the budget work.
but people are waking up that like like when you're a worker, you have to be aware that you're a worker and you work for money versus like you're a capitalist that owns everything, so it's kind of this like people are going to be tested about the system and like which ways you support it, which ways you don't, which ways actually help you, which ways don't. And people really have to reevaluate their principles of operating, whether not only just in community and belief but in money, transactions, commerce, family business, investing.
Right.
Because like what you do with your money is the number one way to influence anything. And
Right.
as workers, you're labor, you're not really capital, you're just human capital.
Yeah. And at that point, as a worker, those dollars you have in your hand, that's the time that you spent and sacrificed for. So should be valued even more.
Asset and time allocation, very important.
Number one.
You got to know how to handle all that. But I think that's a good, off point right there to say our goodbyes to the good folks out there that are listening. So adios, peeps from the germ.
Hey, thanks for tuning in, y'all. Tune in for more cool stuff here soon.
Yeah, we're planning a Worst Fest, Yeaton Vibe, Eating Club, Vibulant trip. So stay tuned. And then just if you have ideas for the Yeaton Vibe brand and what we can do, let us know. And also make sure you're, engaged in the communities and know us better. If don't just be sort of hiding in the curtains, engage. So
all the discords and social medias are dropped down in the podcast notes, as of course. Please like and share. Everyone have a God bless, beautiful day.
Yeaton Vibe.
Yeaton Vibe.
Yeah.